What's going on, guys? So it's that time. It's time to put Big Bad Broly together. So we've got everybody out here with their associated Build-A-Figure parts, and we're just going to try to slap the big boy together. So let's start with legs on the torso. Hard part being just how do we do this properly? I'm trying to approach it the same way I did the Megazord and push the leg in to the ball joint straight on. Because you can't do it from the top, obviously. That wouldn't work. This skirt here is definitely a problem. Oh, almost got it. I felt it. I almost got it. Oh, there we go. Okay. Big old leg there. Go ahead and get this right side as well. And once again, guys, forgive the oddness and if things are out of focus a little bit. Waiting for Samsung or Android to fix their fix they did to the camera, because I lost my pro settings, at least for video purposes. So, not gonna lie, Kale was easier to do. Which reminds me, I need to... Oh, she's out, okay. Ah, dang it. Keeping the leg out is surprisingly difficult. Okay, here we go. Ah, It's gonna be like that. Definitely gonna be like that. Got it. Okay. Once I got the right angle on it, it was good. Ah! That foot's facing the wrong dang way. Alright. Readjust. There we go. Arms. So we've got the ball peg here going into there, which may or may not be good. Oh, jeez. And by all means, one could probably get away with heating things up ever so slightly before doing this. Give it with some warm water or a hairdryer or something. Good Lord, that's a beefy boy. Look at that. Good God. Oh, the ankles are already giving out. Got them Bandai ankles. I guess it's supposed to be a lot wider footed. I just realized, I'll show it off here in a second, but okay, so necklace. It did not occur to me what I just saw until I just saw it, obviously. That's going to be problematic. Slap on the Kale head. It's not the Kale head. Though, irony that it sort of works. Okay. Are we done? Do we got him? I think we got him. We have us a giant Super Saiyan BROLY. I realize the camera is set really high, so let's bring it down a notch and in. Look at this guy. This is ridiculous. The one thing being this necklace does not quite work. I knew that was going to be a problem, so I can pull it forward on his chest a little bit. I'm trying to tuck it up under his hair. Maybe it'll work a little bit better. It doesn't look terrible. I need to look on real images and see exactly where that's supposed to fall, because it might help in the future. But I'm trying to remember if he actually kept that on or he blew it off whenever he transformed. Either way, he's pretty cool. We already saw how the joints work. So ball joint in there, disc hinge here, swivels, basically all the same stuff. And he already had the center torso good with the ball joint and stuff like that, so that's happy. We already know how the hips work. So if you want to get real tall, you just stand with the legs together. Otherwise, you can get him a much wider stance, like so. He's a big boy. Yeah. Huge Broly. Turn the legs out just a little. Feet are kind of limited by the way his boots are designed, though. Because it has a hinge, but it doesn't matter because of the way they're cut. So he can't get a super wide stance. He doesn't want to keep his feet apart. But either way, yeah, he is curved with the same Super Saiyan looking down as everybody else, so he can't get his head back and screaming. Details are ridiculous here on the muscles and the body and all that. Wow. And the knees are actually cut pretty good, not gonna lie. But the thing I just noticed when I was putting him together, I'll show here if I get him to stand. Like I said, this ankle sucks. I might have to throw some super glue in there just to fix it. And this necklace is really dumb. He's so cool, but he's so dumb. But he's so cool. Okay, I'm just gonna show it now. He's got golden Frieza hips or ankle or boots. Look. Seriously, they got the design for golden Frieza from BROLY. No joke. Even the arms. Did anybody ever notice this until now? Please tell me you did. Because holy crap. Oh, wow. Okay. I'll take a picture of it when I'm done just to show it off. But yeah, he's definitely Frieza. Maybe he killed Frieza in the past and turned him into that. So here's our other big beefy guy from previous wave. See, he definitely towers over Jiren in almost every way. Although what would be great is using this Broly body to give us a shirtless, ripped up Jiren for the thing. So I mean, basically, if you could swap his head onto his body, paint the whole thing gray, eliminate these biceps. I'm just gonna knock Vegeta over because reasons. It'd be pretty good, honestly. So basically, throw these legs and the lower torso on this with some ripped upness, and yeah, then you have big shirtless swollen Jiren. I guarantee you'll probably get one in the future as a Build-A-Figure, although it seems like we're supposed to get a classic Broly, or not a classic, this is classic. We're supposed to get a new Broly, it looks like, as a Build-A-Figure, just not in the next wave. It's strange. They showed it off, and it's definitely a Dragon Stars kind of figure, but it doesn't look like it's going to be in this next wave. They've shown off the packaging. We don't get a Build-A-Figure in this next really cool wave. Even if we do get a Super Saiyan 4 Goku, which I could care less about. Super Saiyan 3 Goku I definitely want. I think that'd be awesome. Alright. But give us a couple different Brolys and stuff like that, and I'm sure we'll all be happy. Now, one thing I want to show off, of course, he's got to be next to his Universe 6 counterpart. There we go, bend that knee out. With our previous Build-A-Figure with Super Saiyan Kale. They're actually the same size. That's ridiculous. I forgot how much her ankles suck too. But we got two legendary Super Saiyans here. Never realized how similar their designs were. I mean, even the shoes. Wow. But alright, that's cool. So there's our Broly. I will do a video detailing him up. Or I might add it onto this video. We'll see how good it goes. Either way. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and knock this out. I'll just try to, as quick as I can. So I took the head off because I need to be able to access the body. Hold on, I need to find a good mid-range here to lock on. There we go. Okay, so he's got the same kind of thing as Goku did, but actually a much shinier body, so that's going to be one thing. But the way I did this was with Gundam Real Touch markers. So these are made for weathering, well, virtually anything you can put plastic to that it'll take. Now, the two colors I tend to use more than anything, these two. Though with those pants, probably going to go ahead and use some of the black and maybe some of the dark brown. Now, this thing here is supposedly a blending marker, but it is more or less an eraser marker. So it's a blender. We'll see how that works. I tend to use good old Q-tips. I need a thing to keep from setting anything down on my set by accident. I'd set that there. Those are parts for an unrelated thing. Okay, so basically, what I want to do is I want to go through all of the recesses of the muscles and stuff like that. And these things are dual-ended, like the old school markers you grew up with. So very, very similar to the old school markers that we all kind of grew up with. So I want to go through the muscle area and then just sort of shoop, kind of just trace the lines, but make sure there's a little kind of spillage here. Now, one thing is, if you let this dry, you can't do anything with it. If you go like whole hog right at the beginning, it will just dry and that'll be the end of it. But if you give it just a minute, not even a minute or so, give it about 30 seconds, and just use your Q-tip to smear things a little. By all means, you can do this with just your fingers. You don't have to use a Q-tip, but see, like way down in that crevice. And then you're going to use your thumb to smooth it. Look at the difference just right there. So I'm going to start with the brown just to add the deeper shading into the gaps of his muscles. Goku was a little bit easier, if I'm honest, but not going to be that big of a difference. Go ahead and get it all up in those abs. Stay. And just go along and blur it. Blend it in. This is also going to give us a tiny bit of skin tone while we're at it. So not just kind of dirt and shadow, but just a hint. That's also what the pink is good for, which is what most of the stuff on Goku is, actually. Come in here and just wipe away a lot of that surface excess. And you can see a lot of that shine is sort of going away. When we get to the pecs, that'll also really help. Let's see here. Okay. I don't think I can pull his torso off. Oh, fuck. Okay, don't do that. I want to really get down here. That proves he has a bit more of an ab crunch than I thought, so that's a good thing. Okay, so right down in there. And you can get a much pointier Q-tip for something like this if you want. And we want to get right down in there so we're not missing any spots. One thing you'll notice, but because this is like a standard kind of ink, like a normal marker, if I set it on that nice review sheet, it would just start absorbing into it, and I would just end up with a big brown spot. Ask me how I know that. It's called experience. Okay, so you can already see the difference. And at least I have pictures ahead of time, or behind the time now. Now I want to go back in, just add a little bit more over the spots we've already hit. And we can actually kind of accentuate these areas a little bit more. Make a little wider of a stroke, so to speak. Like so. And like I said, if you left it like that, it would just stay after you didn't blend it out. It would just be a nice harsh thing. In fact, that happened on Goku's ribs, and there wasn't much I can do about it. Now, it does kind of look like a bit of a mud butt situation, if I'm honest, but we can blend that out. See, the other thing is when we layer the colors on, you'll be able to see it a little bit better, like deep down in there. So I like this fine tip area. So yeah, this turned from just a quick build-a-figure video into a how-to, because you guys are always interested in modeling, and now with the same kind of vein of modding your toys, so to speak. So there we go, got some nice deep cuts up in there. Now see, if you come over here, we've got a few other areas we can do. And I really want to go over it mostly with the brown first. kind of get that initial shading. And so you can see there's some areas right in here that aren't super well defined, but they're there. And then I'll go back through here. So you can see there on the sides. Recapping that marker every time. Since his rib area is a little bit less defined, not gonna be that big a deal. But like these creases right here are gonna matter, so make sure that we blend that out nicely. As it just wipes right off that surface, but now you can see how some of that gloss is kind of coming down a little. Okay, I'm gonna come up here, do the area around the neck muscles, do a little deep, get that shading in there, and same thing right through here. One thing you also don't want to do is leave your marker open. Like I've got the ceiling fan going, that would end pretty badly. Come up here, shade this nicely. And one thing, once your Q-tip is already kind of loaded up a bit, you can actually dab it in some areas instead of just adding more ink the hard way. So really, and then blend the thumb down into those areas. Now this might be easier actually without the arms on. So you can see that just added some definition. Even though I don't need the hard lines, I can go back and do that again, just add a little bit harsher of a line to it. But I think what I'll do is wait until the pink and I'll do that. Now, Goku's back was kind of detailed, and then Broly's is very, very much so. Goku, or comparatively speaking, obviously Broly is incredibly ripped. So follow these nice deep lines. You actually have the one kind of separating the neck muscles there. So you're just kind of tracing down the back, right up in there. Not going to go too much further forward. There we go. So like so. I'm going to switch into the Q-tip now. Yeah, no, I'll just use the side, just not to get super into the edges. Just now that is such a deep crevice for his spine. Gotta really get up in there. So there's that. So just that little bit of cleanup there. I'll come back in with a clean Q-tip. And if need be, I can grab that quote-unquote blender. All it really is more just straight kind of alcohol and thinner. As you can see there, how it's working out. All right, move on to the arm. So the back is now all nice and muscly. The front's all nice and muscly. The arms, fairly simple. Slightly different type of plastic, but shouldn't hurt it. Just looking for panel. I'm gonna grab a new Q-tip for this, so I'm not spreading as much without meaning to. And one thing you can do is actually draw in a little bit of extra if you want. I did that on Goku. I actually added some extra sort of definition that wasn't there, so you can see the difference shoulder to shoulder. And like front to back, there's not a massive difference. Like I said, this is just kind of initial shading. We'll add some tone because Broly's insanely pale. Actually, most of these guys are insanely pale, but you can alter that ever so slightly. I mean, this alone is actually giving him kind of a spray tan. So that's kind of cool. Alright. So that's one shoulder area done. Biceps, get in there, really shade the deep areas. The valleys, so to speak. Get back here on the tricep area, right back in there. Really shade that down. And you can sort of paint it like a brush. Sort of smear it up and into the other areas. See, I meant the whole area on the shoulder. I didn't smudge. It might get stuck if I don't get it out of there. Oh, it's because the arm was turned when I did that. So that happened. So you line up shoulders. So there's your bare arm, here's your shaded arm. I think the point has been made at this point. Now, one thing I don't want to do is do it over a painted surface because it's just not going to work very well. Do just a little here on his elbow, in the crevice. So there's not a huge gap in shading when his arm's closed. So basically continuing on, like having a painted section underneath like the torso or something. So just do all of that, wipe away some of the highlight areas. And there's his elbow, sort of done. Now you can do the areas near, like right here, like and kind of get around the edges. It's kind of like edge shading. Although this forearm seems to be slightly more porous. So that's going to stand out a little bit. Which way is his arm? It's like, which way is his arm facing at this point? Okay. Oops, I forgot to get the front of the forearm. Because his muscles are sort of squeezed into these gauntlets. So you can see. Just that little bit. And no hands. Basically just highlighting the crevices, darkening the crevices, however you want to call it. I keep saying highlighting when in fact that's the opposite of what we're doing. Or shading. So you get all up in the hands like this. And the crevices under the fingers because they're slightly bent. The cool thing is because these have such a sharp point, you can draw with them, which is what I'll show you later. Okay, so see that did like most of the finger in one shot there. Yeah, these are a lot less smooth than some of those body panels were. So it's absorbing in a bit quick. So his hand is a bit cruddier. So this might be a good case for this thing. If it'll actually work. It's working a little bit. Okay, so basically proving that this thing does work. I've just never used it properly, I guess. Okay. Also, this just gives him a worn-torn or battle-worn kind of hand look. So, there's your slightly shaded hand. There's your untouched hand together on. Turn his hands. So, shaded hand, not shaded hand. Same. So, pretty cool. And the one thing I didn't do was actually his neck, so I need to do that. The other thing you gotta do, since now I know I have brown ink all over my fingers, just gotta be careful what I touch after this. So, right up in that neck V, like so. Pretty good. I think I need to hit this area of his arm though, because it looks like it's a little too bright, a little too untouched. Just kind of colored in. Actually, I probably didn't even have to do that. I probably could have just run the Q-tip over it. There we go. So it looked like an untouched area. Now it's a lot brighter. So you can see the huge difference between the untouched arm and the touched arm, so to speak. That sounded really weird, now that I think about it. Oh well. Oh, I forgot. I was like, what is going on? His torso was backwards. Alright, so let's just skip ahead, shall we? Go ahead and jump to some pinkery. Now for that, I'm going to need a new Q-tip, which I might have one here. And just kind of go back over some of these areas with a little bit of pink. And then we'll just add a little bit of fleshy tone, not just shading. It might not show up as much, at least on camera. One thing I'm definitely going to do is go around his nipples with that. Not that I want his nipples to be solid pink, but Goku's I highlighted in brown and they look really strange. So we're just gonna just sort of highlight them a little bit. And might not really show up there, but you can see just that ever so slight deviation in color. I did forget I wanted to use a little bit of this in between. So it's a much lighter tannish color. So you can kind of blend that in and out just a little bit more than the dark, crappier brown, no pun intended. So I started with the dark brown. We'll go on with this. Now I could have started with that and avoided the dark brown altogether. And oh boy, some of the higher areas. Yeah, just adding slightly different tones as you go. So this might be a good one to use up here. Even though I've already done the darker color, we can come back in with some of that. Just a little bit different. You can see the difference in color tone there. They're getting away from some of the super dark area. Just lightening up just a hair. I keep dropping the Q-tip in where I've already done. Also a good case for, you could draw directly on the skin a detail or so if you like, throw in your own muscle lines. So if I would really wanted to highlight that up, I can just, instead of wiping, you dab and wipe away some of the excess there. It just leaves some of the stuff behind. Not all of it though. I mean, if you want a perfectly clean Broly, like he's about to start the fight, then by all means. Mine, it looks a little bit more like he's been in the fight. Okay, so you can see just a little bit there. Now one thing I'm going to do what I did to Goku, and add just the tiniest. So you can see just some stress marks, or stretch marks, if you want to go there. And if you wanted to make it look like it was animation, you could just do it with the black, which would work. And like I said, I'm dabbing, I'm not wiping. You can even dab with your fingertips a little bit. Just follow the traces of the muscle, basically. So, yeah, just that. Just to go ahead and wrap this little tutorial up. I'm going to do the arm and all that on my own later. I'm going to go ahead and try to do this area on the clothing, because he was wearing red. I'll go ahead and get in here with some darker, blacker colors. Hopefully it's not too, it's a softish plastic, so it shouldn't be too big a deal. So, just that. Just hit the low areas. Funny thing is, if it was a Gundam, I would use brown on red, but because it's his clothing, I'm doing it for black. Just looks like shadow or dirt, which is the idea. And just blend it the hell in. Let's see. Just looks that nice. Now, it's something I attempted to do on Goku's pants. It just didn't come out as good. There we go. You can see how much better that looks just with a little bit of weathering. And I can do all the rest of it all the way around the sides and all that. And then the pants, I don't know. I don't really want to use the harsher black. Let me try it out back here. Funny thing is, just from holding it, just from handling it, I've gotten brown stuff on the back. Okay, so let's do a harsher black line there and see what happens. Might be too much on the white. I don't know. We'll try it out. That's why you do the back of the legs, so you can see how it'll look. Let me try it, like up in there. The wrinkle of the pants. Because you're going to use brown on orange. Because if you go black, it'll look a little too dark. One problem is it's just turning everything black. I mean, it works. That might be what I do. might do black for everything, and then I've already gotten, just by like rubbing my thumb over this surface, I'm giving it brown highlights. And yes, that is technically, there are highlights there, so that's funny. So that's a good BROLY weathering tutorial if you ever feel like doing that. I know this has gone quite a bit longer. I'm gonna scratch some of it out, but the Real Touch marker set's like 20 bucks, something like that, online. If you feel like getting this particular set, by all means. Oh, one thing you can do before I go, you can do the face, because their faces don't have quite enough on it. Now I'm going to use the tan, because he's got frown lines for sure, and little expressive areas around and under the eyes, like so. Now what I need is another Q-tip, or at least the one I was just using. Now that's basically panel lining, honestly, because those are inset lines in the face. I also do a little bit of pink up there. So one thing I did for Goku, I got all up in the ears with some shading and followed the jawline. So I can do something similar to BROLY here. Get the Q-tip all up in his ear. Because I've got nice molded detail. They just tend to hide the shit. So, slight difference there. The ears for sure make a difference. And even come along here, down on the shade of the chin. Okay, just making things stand out a little bit more. Now I've got so much exposure from this light, it's probably not doing me any favors, but I'm just gonna go in here. Since I added the pink and just a little bit of tan. Once again, I probably didn't even need to use a marker. I probably could have just taken a brush. Yeah. Really want to get these frown lines. So I actually kind of drew them on Goku. Really highlighting the areas around his face, so that he looked like he had a better expression on his face. It sort of just disappeared with the previous. Okay. So there. Now he looks a little more serious. Yeah. Okay. So, I'm gonna jump back to the end of the video. Now that that's over, we can see the final thing. Alright, so now that the tutorial is done, we'll take a quick final look at the progress, and you can see just nicely shaded. The hard part is going to be just whatever. You can see the pink highlights. Some things are still a little bit darker than others. Like right through there. Wow, what just happened? Getting tired of the way the auto is working here. There we go. Good enough. And you can see the shading throughout the kind of skirt going on. A couple places I could probably clean it up a little bit more, but I'm just basically darkening it. Same thing around here. On the back, I added a little bit more pink, blended it out a little bit. The right arm actually was a little bit more difficult than the left arm. Slightly more porous in some places, so didn't quite blend out as well, but still, it's good. Did the fist as well as the open hand. So, at least that one. Now, I didn't end up shading the wrinkles of the pants. What I ended up doing, it's going to be a little harder to see, probably. But all I did was just dirty it up. Like, the edges, I low-lighted it. Instead of doing the in between the wrinkles, I left the wrinkles as the clean part and everything else as the dirty part. So, that worked out. One thing I did do was add quite a bit of super glue to this foot to make it a bit more stable. So I can at least plant one foot and then the other one can pose. It's ironic that his feet, or his boots, so to speak, look like Frieza's feet. And Frieza is one of the worst for trying to stand. But I can get him to stand now. With at least one foot fixed in place, he'll stand. With the hair, actually, I tried adding some darker spots with the green marker. I think it worked. One little flub here and there. The other thing I did was glue his necklace in place. So I put a tiny dab of glue back here, 2 tiny dabs of glue there, and a tiny dab of glue there. So the necklace is now totally fixed in place and fit to his body. And that makes me happy. So I can live with it. This palm needs to be cleaned up a little bit. But overall, Super Saiyan Broly in this form is actually pretty good. I like him. I like him a lot. I'm going to have to find a way to get my camera settings back. But there he is with all the other 6 in this wave. He does suffer from the same problems that Frieza does because those are ball joints in the ankles, not hinge joint. So the hands, that's fine for that. But the ankles, no, you need something a little bit more proper to actually hold it up, because the way they're molded to go in forward. So he always wants to lean forward. So what I did for this ankle was I tilted the foot out and pointing as far as I could go, and then I squeezed super glue into the front side of the ball joint. Now, I'd already tried beefing them up. If I move it a little bit too much, it probably won't stand anymore. But the other thing I did was carve the back of the boot out just a little bit. I'll probably do the same thing over here on this one. I did stiffen this one up a little bit with some extra super glue, but to get a little more toe point out of it, I'll probably do the same thing. I might end up gluing his ankle solid just so that he'll stand without a problem, but overall, I like him. He's a cool Build-A-Figure. And if they're going to give us a new movie Broly, I'm definitely in for that, because it's just going to be sweet. But I hope the weathering tutorial gave you guys some ideas on how to upgrade just your basic things here. Now, once again, I'll say that the weathering markers aren't going to work so well on a painted surface versus the raw plastic. So, like for Gohan's chest back there is painted. Same thing with Kale, where her abs are painted. Stuff like that. Her legs are painted. That's probably not going to work as well. Same thing. She's actually very much covered in paint, unlike some of these other guys. So, can't really detail her up as much. But I like that I have these two together. Once again, I bring up the fact, imagine if these two had kids. How ridiculous that would be. But that's going to be it, guys. So do the like, subscribe, all the things. Patreon, all that. The only thing I didn't do is weather up this fist. Sorry. And that's it. So make sure you guys come back on the next review. And remember, as always, to keep on building your Broly.